Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Made in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. Well, I'm here to do another video in my pursuit of knowledge about channeling entities from another dimension, from the invisible reality, communicating with mediums, psychics, channelers, delivering messages to humanity. So many people are listening. So many people are becoming addictive to certain of the channelers, forming some kind of cult. Is it good for us? Is it bad for us? So anyways, this is series 133 on this book, Tuning In. Trying a different camera. This one's on my computer. One of my other computers. A journalist and 6 trance channelers and messages from the other side. By David Thomas and Matthew Klinck. K-L-I-N-C-K. Klinck. Some of the 6 channelers out there. This was copyrighted 2001. I'm not trying to do an audiobook here. I'm going to go over chapter 2, part of it, half of it. I've been watching some of the videos by this particular person, Wendy Kennedy, channeling the Pleiadian Collective. Who and what are the Pleiadian Collective? Chapter 1 was Daryl Anka, A-N-K-A, channeling Bashir. I'll be reading all of this, of course, eventually. Chapter 3, Godfrey Hope, H-O-P-P-E, Hopi, channeling Tiberius. Chapter 4, Sean Randall, channeling Torah. Chapter 5, John Callie, channeling Chief Joseph. These names are kind of interesting. Channeling Torah, and the Torah is one of the Bible books of the Jews. And chapter 5, John Callie. Callie is one of the beings, demons, entities of the Hindu religion. Kali, Shiva. Chapter 6, Lee Carroll, channeling Cryon. I've been going over the Cryon book I have and made a couple of videos about that. So without any further delay, let me just start reading from chapter 2, Wendy Kennedy, channeling the Pleiadian Collective. Who are the Pleiadians? What's a Pleiadian Collective? So anyways, Matt and David are the authors. And it starts out here, Matt and I spoke only once in the next week about a couple of technical issues. So they were going to go visit Wendy Kennedy to interview her for this book. Alright, we were going to meet at Santa Monica apartment of channeler Wendy Kennedy. I'd never met her, but the information on her website, higherfrequencies.net, had spoken to me in a deep way. So Wendy said she'd have to think about this interview. She called back a few days later and said the Pleiadian Collective, a group of 2,500 highly evolved beings she channeled from the 9th dimension, who speak as one, was delighted with the information she was in. So moving forward here, I'm only going over my highlighted and redlined material. I read the highlighted material and I redline some of the stuff that jumps out at me. So here we go, page 48. Wendy began her channeling journey when she started having visions, sort of like lucid walking dreams, she explained. I didn't really know what was going on. I even had a few moments where I thought maybe I was going a little crazy. But I trusted my inner guidance, which kept nudging me to look into channeling. So she kept doing research, read books on the subject, and started doing the exercises the book recommended. I'm involved in that a little bit. I study psychic books and holistic healings, alternate energies. Then about a year after this, I had my first real breakthrough with automatic writing. So if you just kind of relax, take your pen and a piece of paper, and try to clear your mind and ask for your higher being. And we'll get into who those higher beings might be in this video. Just relax, close your mind, and just ask a question maybe. Can I communicate with higher beings with automatic writing? And sometimes for people, all of a sudden their hand starts writing. Some people it takes a little bit of practice and time. Some people apparently can't do it at all. I know the same thing with a pendulum. You know, I can look at a pendulum and just hold it here. Believe it or not, it's not me intentionally moving my hand, although my hand does move. But I can say, show me my yes, and it circles in a particular way. And I go back to ready, and it goes, show me my no. And then I can say, go back to ready. And then I can ask a question like, is this going to be a great day? And it's circling yes. And of course, according to Jesus, who said test the spirits, you're supposed to ask, am I being deceived? And you can say, am I being deceived? Asking God or in Jesus' name or whoever, whatever deity, religion you might belong to. It works for some people amazingly well. Some people can't seem to get it to do anything. You sit there and hold it all day and nothing happens. And I go, do you believe in it? And they'll go, no, I don't believe in that stuff. Well, it's not going to work. Closed-mindedness, open-mindedness, and I suppose that's part of the whole problem with our reality right now, 2017, with all the propaganda, beguilement, New Age agenda, pansexuality, demonizing Christianity, demonizing the Islamic people's religion, and the relentless attacks on Syria. So many people are myopic. They only see through that little thing there. They don't look over here. They don't look over here. Just see a little bit. And if they're Democrats, they see just this little bit. And they hate this information over here about Republicans. And of course, if they're Republicans, they only see that. And they hate this information about Democrats. The divide and conquer mentality used by the elites called the Hegelian dialectic. And one of the oldest war tactics of, let's say, the Hebrews, historically the Jews, are to get two other parties to fight each other while they're in the background. Have other people fight for you. And look what 911 has done with the United States and NATO, Pentagon, being involved in overthrowing most of the countries in the Middle East. Our jets and our weapons and our money and our troops are relentlessly destroying those countries, bombing those buildings. Go on Yahoo Image Site and see it. So again, it all boils down to people having their mind control, myopic point of view, not seeing what they should be seeing on the other side of the curtain. And that takes us into channeling. To keep an open mind. And is this information? Do people just buy what they read? Pick up this book. walk away and start parroting that information to everybody else, saying this is true? Or do they look at it sentence by sentence and go, I'm not so sure about that. But I do know in propaganda and deception, they like to feed obvious truth. So they'll have a sentence as truth, 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 truth. And you're sucked in. You're reading the book, and then there's another sentence that states something as fact. And if you look at it and you're thinking, and you're weary of this kind of tactic, you go, wait a minute, that's not truth. So they like to put a lot of non-truth in with truth to try to get people out there to believe in things. And just like with the New Age propaganda, the New World Order propaganda, globalism, interestingly enough, after President Donald Trump got elected, they had the Women's March, and of course another march, and protesters screaming, "Don't put a wall up for between the United States and Mexico." The people are following for this propaganda, a one world government, a one world order, a one world religion, a one world currency. Yet you can't pack up and go move over to Israel. They're having people come home from all over the world called Aliyah after 2,500 years of diaspora being dispersed. So they're building a country with nationalism and patriotism, while they want the rest of the world to surrender those ideas, eliminate those ideas, and be part of the collective globalism. Just things people don't think about when they do those protests and those march, like the Women's March after President Donald Trump got elected. I was paying attention to research, and I found out on the internet there were all kinds of internet expensive websites. I own a business and try to get a website made without spending a ton of money. There were tons of websites on the internet, wherever you were in the United States, whatever state, whatever county. You could just go on there and sign up and get directions, find out how to travel, where to stay, who to meet, for different cities everywhere. Even when they passed a couple of those gay marriage laws in one particular issue in the Supreme Court, even the White House had gigantic rainbow colors all over it overnight. You can't set up that kind of system in all the cities across the country overnight, can you? It was planning. So when you read this kind of stuff, when I read it, I have to pay attention that there is deception, propaganda, beguilement. What is beguilement? So what I'm trying to say here is when I read this material, I'm not trying to teach it or preach it. I'm trying to understand what they're saying, and I'm looking at many different books about many different channeled beings by many different mediums, psychics, channelers, trying to find the common denominators and find out the minute things they say. That one sentence that exposes something. Common denominator. It's a lot of work. All right. So Wendy Kennedy started having visions, sort of lucid waking dreams, she explained. I didn't really know what was going on. I even had a few moments where I thought maybe I was going a little crazy. But I trusted my inner guidance, which kept nudging me to look into channeling, something I really knew nothing about and had no interest in at that point. So she kept doing research, read books on the subject, and started doing the exercises the books recommended. And as I have said, that's what I've been doing. Besides research on almost everything under the sun, with the philosophy in my mind that everything is connected. These people creating this new age and new world order are using every weapon in their arsenal, whether it is chemtrailing, sky spraying, microwave transmitters, HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, terror events, World War I, World War II, biodiversity, sustainability, global warming, global cooling, climate change, pole shifting, Planet X, Nemesis, Nibiru, the Destroyer, UFO aliens, communism, Zionism, Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, Illuminati, Knights of Columbus, Knights of Malta, Council of Foreign Relations, and I could go on here for an hour or two, if you've been watching my video, of the many secret societies, temples, and lodges all across the world. What does it have to do with people delivering messages to we the people from these entities from the other side, like the Vedas or the Pleiadians, reptilians, gray aliens, avians, tall whites, Nordics? How deep does this rabbit hole go? This propaganda, this deception, this beguilement. So then about a year after this, I had my first real breakthrough with automatic writing. I just talked about that. Which is where you sit down, clear your mind, and let this other energy or spirit, or however you want to term it, come through. So I did automatic writing for 2 years, just on my own, not daily, certainly not seeing clients or offering advice or anything like that. The writing slowly morphed into verbal channeling. And if we remember the video I went over with Jane Roberts, her and her husband, Robert, started out using a Ouija board. And then that morphed into her being able to go into a trance. Seth speaking through her mouth. You can go on the YouTube and see videos by Jane Roberts or any of these people. I've been watching some Wendy Kennedy videos and I've taken some notes. The writing slowly morphed into verbal channeling, and now Wendy has clients all over the globe. I now know why. This is why I came to Earth, to do this work. She said, it's just so very fulfilling to help people, and the Pleiadians now seem like my very best friends and allies. In the Bible, I believe Jesus says you need to test the spirits. And again, I'm not opposed to learning how to use my psychic abilities, but I am aware just because I can see visions and hear voices, dreams, that I may not be receiving information that's for my benefit, humanity's benefit. The other side, I believe there are demonic forces as well as I believe there are benevolent angels. All right, continue on. Just took a break and went down to the pool and got some sun and did 16 laps. So let's see if I can finish this video today. All right, so Wendy says, my friends and family were very accepting about my learning how to channel, being interested in this stuff. I've always been really open about it. I didn't really hide it, even from my employers. I've always felt that it was really important for me to be honest about that, because I saw how it impacted people. About 15 years ago, I started having visions. And I didn't know what they were, she said, so I started doing some research on past lives. And I came across channeling. It was in the early 90s, and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about who did it. I just knew it was something I was supposed to be doing. So I found a couple of books and did some of the exercises. and had real visceral responses, but nothing really happened. That's probably where I am right now in my using psychic abilities. I don't feel confident that I get correct answers all the time. Spent my first couple years in research studying holistic healing, new age, psychic abilities. And that was all an accident, by the way. I was just trying to advance my electronic technology education, engineering and physics, so I was collecting old books, reading about scientists we've all heard about, even Nikola Tesla, and I found out that many of them, if not all of them, had psychic abilities when they were younger. So that started my pursuit into what the heck is going on. What is the occult? What is mysticism? What is it the rest of us should know about? The secret societies, the Freemasonic lodges, Rosicrucians, Illuminati, and many other organizations that have their initiates, their members, swear under threat of death not to divulge the secrets. Is this stuff I'm reading part of those secrets? But nothing really happened. I was trying to channel verbally, and my limbs would tingle, and my eyes would water. So I would try it periodically, and kind of put it aside and come back to it. Again, that's where I'm at. And a lot of people out there opening their minds, looking into stuff like this, trying to find out what's the truth about reality. I took a meditation class and did some other things, and did some work on myself. And about a year after I started trying, I sat down one day and just knew I was supposed to have a pencil and paper, and I started to do automatic writing, and it kind of developed over the years. I think that's how Jane Roberts with the Seth material started, her and her husband Robert. Wendy believes she is not particularly special or gifted, and that everyone actually channels, whether they call it that or not. And I believe we're all spiritual beings in these biological bodies, and to some degree we all have psychic abilities, and we've experienced it in our lives. I've personally had numerous instances, and a big one was my out-of-body experience Christmas Day. We all have the ability to channel, she said. I define channeling as bringing in energy and translating it into a recognizable form, speaking, dancing, writing, drawing, and any other creative expression. The source of the energy can be from our higher self, our guides. So do we have personal guides, personal guardian angels? People we loved on earth, now departed? Or from other dimensions and other realities? It's really just a matter of choosing a particular frequency, like you would a radio station, or tuning up the volume. But why her? We're talking about Wendy Kennedy here. Why would she have this unique calling? Oh, it was definitely something I set up and agreed to before I incarnated in this body. So I hear that a lot. She said matter-of-factly, I have done similar work in other lifetimes and have been persecuted, even killed, for doing it. But this lifetime is very different. It really is the great shift, or whatever you want to term it. People are ready to awaken, and that's why the Pleiadians are connecting to help us do just that. But they can tell you more about that, she concluded with a wise smile. Moments later, Wendy had closed her eyes and was taking deep breaths. But there were none of the extreme facial tics, comparative histrionics that Anka had shown. About 10 seconds passed, A smile eased onto her face, and an altered voice emerged. It was a bit higher pitched than Wendy's own, and then the accent reminded me of the English governess in an old movie, a bit clipped but brimming with positive energy. After a warm greeting of, "Yes, hello, dear. We are very pleased to be with you today," the collective explained the reason for the shift in Wendy's voice. Many people will ask, page 50, why do they sound British? Why do they sound this way or that way? It is because we are working with you in a tonal language. Listen up to this bit of information. It's almost as if you're having healing. You are getting many, many levels of information. And as we tell you that it is a nice day, we are depositing an energetic packet within your field that tells you it is 70 degrees. There is a light breeze. The roses are very fragrant. That's a lot more information. So what she's trying to say here, apparently when they're channeling, you may hear the words transmitted to your ears, but apparently there are energy packets of information being delivered to the recipients, whether it's the channeled entity, the medium, Wendy Kennedy in this case, or even the audience. You may be getting more than just what's being said. And I feel that's a huge reason why the governments and the powers that be have switched to flat screens and digital TVs, even digital Gwen towers, and the cell phone technologies. They even give these away to people for free. There's something bigger going on in the metaphysical, spiritual, human mindset, whatever, mind control, programming. So just because you can't think you see it or hear it, you may be getting more messages than you know. Even when you get strange phone calls every day, and it just, you don't know why. It's some marketing company calling you every day. Are they delivering some other messages to us? Could they do that? Would they do that? And with the TV programming or things you can't hear, Gwen towers, transmitters. It has everything to do with these psychic beings, I believe, the New Age and the New World Order. There's a lot more information. So those who are watching the movie or reading these words are also getting to receive this downloaded information. It says it right here. It's not my paranoia. Alright, I noticed immediately that the Pleiadian energy was much different than the crisp gust Bashar emitted. So that would have been chapter 1, which I haven't made a video on. This was much like having a conversation with a loving aunt while sitting in an easy chair, and everything is very comfortable and relaxing. So the different mediums can deliver the message in different emotional ways. Like Barbara Marciniak, when she opens up her lectures or videos, she goes into that voice and says, "I can see everybody's here, the pixies, the angels, the mermaids," and other beings she names off. Welcome, everybody. And then, of course, go watch the Barbara Roberts introducing Seth when she goes into a trance. Lee Carroll when Cryon comes online when he goes into a trance. Esther Hicks when Abraham comes on when she goes into a trance. And so many more. You want to keep on reading this stuff and get to the bottom of what these beings on the other side are trying to tell us. Is there more than one message? All right, so the question, so once a psychic or medium or channeler goes into a trance, even like Edgar Cayce, you can have somebody sitting there or somebody in the audience can ask this apparently alert human that is now possessed by some other entity. In this case, it's the Pleiadian Collective, a group of 2,500 beings, maybe. So it's said here. So anyways, here's the first question. Could you please tell us why you are coming through Wendy at this time on Earth? The answer. Part of it is that it is our agreement. It is part of our contract. That she is actually a part of the collective. Which is a question that she has not asked herself. So she's reincarnated on Earth. She has this instances of psychic abilities happening to her. Visions, voices, automatic writing. To find out she's actually part of the Pleiadian Collective. So she reincarnated on Earth, apparently, to be a communication hub between them and us. I'm theorizing. But I'm also reading here, too, what it says. Which is a question that she has not asked herself. So that is a brand new tidbit for her. And we're coming through at this time because we are not happy with the way that things exist currently in our reality. So we are from what you would perceive to be the future. So they're in the future, they're coming back here, they're channeling through Wendy Kennedy because they're not happy with what's going on in the future. And we have come back to our past so that we may learn and so that we may assist the planet, because what's going on now is going to impact the entire universe. And we really want to see things change. There was the potential for the entire game to be destroyed. So they call on our reality, life as we know it, the history that we know it, the past and the future, a game. Like I said, I'm not trying to bash this material or promote this material. I'm reading it and I'm thinking. That's something that's not talked about because we don't want you to focus on it. So things are not bad and the entire universe was about to expire. Destroyed is the word here. But they don't want us to think about it. But there was the potential, the way things were going energetically, for some very unfortunate events to occur that would create a lot of destruction, and we really didn't want to walk down that path. So we're here to help change that. So whatever happened in the future, they came back, and they're trying to change our reality to prevent some disaster in their future. Has some of that already been changed? That's our reality. Remember the Mandela effect. Apparently different names or logos, cartoons, food products. Apparently there's been a lot of this Twilight Zone stuff going on, the Mandela effect. If you don't know about it, look it up. But things aren't what they used to be, or how some people remember them. It's almost as if we really are a matrix and there's a flickering going on in our reality. You know how your TV does that and finally your channel comes in clear on the old TVs? Is there something electromagnetically, some kind of static going on with our holographic reality? Remember, we're all atoms and molecules. Everything is moving. Is somebody trying to change something? Again, just me thinking. And reading, apparently, from some channeled material, if you want to believe it, from some invisible reality, with lots of people in the audience, go into even some of these schools where the channelers teach that you can manifest and create your own reality. The ye are gods. The old gods, you can get rid of them. Has some of that already been changed? Yes, quite a bit of it actually. And you have been outdone, and you have outdone yourselves in a sense. This has never been done before, where a planet has transited with conscious beings on it. So never before has a planet been through a transition with conscious beings on it. This is the first time, and they're talking about some kind of an ascension. That's concerning. All of the best got to come down to the game this go around. So all the people she's saying here, all the best of the best throughout eternity, advanced souls, Pleiadians, whatever, incarnated on this planet at this time for this event. Did you know that? Again, we're talking about the New Age, the New World Order, Freemasonry, Satanism, mysticism, Zionism, communism, secret societies, Freemasonry, Rosicrucians, and so many more, thousands, witchcraft. All these people are into something, alchemy, Kabbalah. What do they know? We don't know. That's why I'm doing this research, having these conversations, even if it's right down to one sentence at a time. Moving on, you're always looking to a higher frequency. You're always looking to the higher frequencies. You're looking to the celestial realms, the heavens, as if there is some hierarchy where there are beings who have more information than you have. We know about angels, the Book of Enoch, Watchers, Archons, Nephilim, God, demons. Even Jesus cast out demons, unclean spirits, psychic research, ghost. There is more to what we all know, many of us, and maybe we should be asking these questions and looking into it. So it says here, we're looking for beings who have more answers right now. And a lot of people are. And what we tell you is that you are the ones who have all the answers. So this channeled entity is saying, this collective group of Pleiadians, is that we that are here incarnated right now have all the answers and we don't know it. You are the ones who are down here writing the books, writing the lessons on how it's all done. So we're all learning from you. So why are all these channelers writing books, and it's becoming popular, tons of New Age material, books warning about the New Age. I've shown them on my videos. We won't waste the time doing that on this video. Go watch my previous videos. So I've been very meticulous about showing all the details. Another question. That seems odd. I mean, if we're such masters, this is a question to the Channeled Pleiadian Collective, then why is there so much unhappiness and even despair on Earth, and so many people who just don't realize they are masters? Answer. That's part of duality. A lot of people will tell you it's duality. You don't have one without the other. And now you are coming to a point where you're bringing in so much light that you've got that polarity. You've got that other extreme. You cannot have one without the other. You can't have all that information and light coming in without that darkness when you're still in duality in the third dimension. because you're looking at dimensions within this particular system, within the universal duality exist throughout the dimensions. But the higher dimensions you go into, duality is not as extreme as it is. The lower in frequency you go, and apparently where we are here now, on the lower dimensions, we operate on a very long wavelength. And as you go up in the dimensions, the wavelengths get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, which is why we can't see invisible beings like ghosts or other beings, or even apparently reptilians can be invisible, is because we see on a small spectrum of light. But if you take peyote, ayahuasca, opium, meditation, yoga, and other means to learn how to leave your body or see other realities, like the shamans do and witchcraft people do, and apparently other people into the occult, mysticism, using the Merkaba, Kabbalah using the Merkaba. Again, what are we talking about? So with me talking about this stuff, a little bit at a time, you can pick it up. Different dimensions. We can see and live in this third dimension. What about the fourth dimension? The fifth dimension? The sixth dimension? The seventh dimension? That's why you have so many people going through so much pain. And it also is, believe it or not, serving a purpose. There's a little note here. Until you understand that you're holographic in nature. Now remember, we're moving atoms and molecules. So in a way, we're holographic. We're a manifested, created image, as dense as it might be and as much solid as it may seem. What happens to the macrocosm happens to the microcosm. You will never be fully able to heal yourselves. From the higher perspective, you know, pain serves its purpose. It is a catalyst for change. Pain serves its purpose. It is a catalyst for change. 911 served a purpose. It was a catalyst for change. Citizens would have never allowed the invasion and overthrow of all those countries in the Middle East if we hadn't been able to demonize those countries and those peoples with 911. World War I, all that turmoil and warring could have never gone on if they didn't have that incident of a ferry sinking off of the coast of Britain, blaming it on the Germans. World War II, the fire in the Reichstag building or something. We the people, generally speaking, have been tricked and deceived into these events because, as it says here, a catalyst for change. Because if you were happy and content all the time, you probably wouldn't move, would you? So if they don't continue to create these false flags, gun shootings, bombings, and threats of global warming, sustainability, all this stuff, divide and conquer, gays versus straight, old versus young, rich versus poor, Americans versus the Mexicans, American versus the Russians, the Chinese, the Arabs. They have to stir the pot. People wouldn't agree and go along. That's a big message I've been trying to get out with this series, Freemasonry and Satanism. What's going on behind the scenes is intentional. And apparently there are beings from the invisible world interacting with this world. Look at the Bohemian Grove where they throw a baby into a fire under a giant owl Moloch, cremation of care. What kind of God are they serving by doing that? Illuminati. Go watch some of the videos on YouTube. People testifying that they abduct people and sacrifice them. Viciously. Blood libel. Accusations meant against some Jewish people throughout history into the Kabbalah and mysticism. What kind of God are they serving by sacrificing people? The Mayans. witchcraft on their holidays. That's one of their biggest events. Go look it up on YouTube if you dare. You're not going to like what you find or what you see or what you learn. It might make you sick. It did me. What kind of beings are they serving? We're know here if this channeling is true, if people want to believe it, then there are beings in these other dimensions. And why are they sacrificing humans, even babies and children? Aleister Crowley. Sexual orgies and other events to open up the portals or communication with some kind of demonic beings. I'm not trying to get into the dark side here, but I'm telling you what, this material is going to get into the dark side. Wendy Kennedy. I'll keep reading on. So if you were happy and content all the time, you probably wouldn't move, would you? That's what it says here. Above my finger. Underlined. No. So it serves as a catalyst. And we will tell you pain is perception. Nothing more. If you were to tell one person that you think they have a large nose, that they're going to look at you strangely. If you were to say it to another who was self-conscious, they would be devastated. So we all react to the like 911 or even when people talk about sacrificing humans. A lot of people are in denial. Pizzagate, spirit cooking. The stuff is rampant across the world right now. All the satanic rituals, the tunnel opening over there in the Swiss Alps, the CERN celebration, the Archway of Baal, B-A-A-L, in New York and London. Later on, I find UNESCO is putting 1,000 of them all over the world. Archways to a daemon. We're talking to beings from the other side in this channeled material. Do you believe these channelers or do you not? Some people do. Some people are skeptical. The skeptical people should probably wake up. There's probably some truth to it. The people who follow these cults probably should wake up. Maybe they're being beguiled and deceived, roped in. Just saying. Wake up. Some of it may be beneficial to us. Like the Bible. Jesus said when I did the video in the Gospel of St. John. Was it 72 part 5 and 6? I think there was a lot of valuable information in that. Jesus gave us another commandment. Ye shall love one another. A commandment. We're not supposed to be killing each other, stealing from each other, creating a horrible planet that a lot of people are just devastated about. The mother of all bombs sent over to Afghanistan this year in 2017. 59 missiles launched over there in Syria this year, 2017. It's going on, and it's going on heavy. Why? It's all in perception and what you create internally in the emotional field. So it does make people emotional. A lot of people are so disinterested or afraid of this, they put up a wall, a defense mechanism, rationalization. Normalcy bias is another word. You can't talk to people about it. Like the sky spraying of chemicals. You can look up and see it, take a picture of it, try to show it to some people. They'll refuse to tilt their head up, and they'll refuse to look at the picture. A lot of people are aware of this. It's a serious problem. People are just desirous to remain blind and not to see what seems to be obvious, that there is something going on. Some people are creating these drastic events in order to wake up, in order to get their own attention. So there are people creating these events like 9/11, Sandy Hook shooting, London bombings, Boston bombing, Oklahoma City bombing. When you get to a level where there are drastic events, it is occurring because you have not been paying attention before that. You have been suppressing the emotional experience, and it comes right back around in a more intensified form to get your attention. This is a channeled material from a being, from the Pleiadian Collective. Because this beautiful reality that you've created for yourself is displaying what's going on an emotional level for you. And as a collective, the planet is reflecting what's going on emotionally, and the planet is not in very good shape. Again, it says on the bottom here, Wendy Kennedy, channeling the Pleiadian Collective. Moving on, page 54. The planet is not in very good shape right now. You have polluted your oceans. You have devastated some of your lands. And that is also going on in an internal level. Until you understand that you're holographic in nature, what happens to the microcosm happens to the macrocosm. You will never be fully able to heal yourselves. All right, next question. So reducing it to shorthand, once we heal ourselves, we'll heal the planet. It's a bit curious. You think the entities on the other side understand the word shorthand? Yes, that's exactly it. Enough of you are beginning to see that and beginning to understand that. And what's happening is you are creating a new version of the planet. So if we people manifest our reality, it says here, we are creating a new version of the planet. Would that be pansexual, transgender, luciferic, mark of the beast? Not trying to be so negative, just asking questions. Question, is there a timetable for this? Or do we just do it as we do it? Answer, there is an acceleration, and you're feeling it. This push, things speeding up. That there aren't as many hours in the day, as it were. And that's very true. There aren't as many hours in the day because time is compressing. Because as you get higher in frequency and closer to the fourth dimension, time ceases to exist. That's where you get, in your records, the end times. So now they're talking about end times. So I can say that this channeled material is very relative to the New Age, New World Order, Antichrist, Zionism, Communism. Who controls the planet? The banksters, the Illuminati. All the evil, all the rituals. Because time will cease to exist in the same fashion in other dimensions. Question. So as we heal ourselves, does your world also change? So here's this channeled human, channeler, Wendy Kennedy, talking to the Pleiadian Collective. Does your world also change? Answer. Yes, it does. This gets into time and altering time. So we will try to explain it. But try not to process it all through your head. Try to work with your heart. Because you'll go in circles in your head. There are multiple timelines, multiple realities. And as you are changing one, it changes other probable realities. Because they all exist beside each other, we have chosen to stand in one that is very out of balance. Just like you, we don't like to be bored. We like challenges. So is that all this is? The destruction of planet Earth? Some kind of an ascension? to these beings. 911, murdering all the people in the Middle East. World War I, World War II, millions of people dying. Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution. Where were these beings? And the untold millions of people who were killed. Natives like the American Indians, natives in Central, South America, Africa. What's going on? Genghis Khan, 1,000 years ago, ravaging the Orient and the Europe and all that, mass murdering people in very vicious manner, saying that God told him to do it. He was punishing people. Who was he channeling? Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Hitler, Mao in China, Stalin, Lenin in Russia, and so many more. Who are they channeling? There are multiple timelines, multiple realities. And as you are changing one, it changes other probable realities. Because they all exist beside each other. We have chosen to stand in one that is very out of balance, just like you. We don't like to be bored, we like challenges. So here we are. We want to change things, and as you change, we are learning lessons. So I thought about the Mandela effect. Subtle changes in our reality. Changes in the spelling of words. Characters, things, places. Then I thought about the CERN opening up portals. Satanic rituals all over the world for the last 10 years that I've been paying attention. Football halftime shows, Grammys, Emmys, Olympic openings, Eurovision in Europe, like the American Idol program, singing contests, Conchita Wurst winning, singing the song in 2014, look it up. The Phoenix Rising with the words "You Can't Stop Us." So here we are. We want to change things, and as you change, we are learning lessons. What about World War I, World War II? That was a catalyst to change the Middle East and Europe and America. 911, you think? We are learning, for instance, about compassion, integrating duality. So when Hitler, according to Rabbi Marvin Antelman in his two books, To Eliminate the Opaque, Volume 1, Volume 2, Rabbi Marvin Antelman was the leader of the Jewish Congress in the USA. He wrote that in Germany, Hitler, in Munich, they abducted a gypsy, laid him on an altar to sacrifice him, with the altar adjoining with a young girl who was supposed to be impregnated by some kind of deity or spirit that came through a portal. What kind of entity was coming through that portal? Who's channeling this information? What can we trust? People are buying these books. How many have I gone over so far? How many do I still have to go over? Quite a few. I will get to the bottom of this. There are some fine lessons being learned down here. We're learning from you what it means, because you are so immersed in dark energy, and you are coming out of such a very dark place that you're learning some tremendous lessons in the process. Well, I know one thing, they're bombing the smithereens out of Syria as I speak. Are they still in a dark place? Where are these Pleiadian collectives there? But it is very hard for you to see because you're standing in the middle of it. That's why we say you really are the masters. You just can't see it because you're in the middle of it. Lots of platitudes here. These beings are complimenting us. Sincerely, you think? What do you think about channeled material? Have you been looking into it? Are you following some particular entity? Esther Hicks Abraham? Barbara Marciniak, the Pleiadians? Lee Carroll, Cryon. The other ones I've gone over. Why have we decided to keep ourselves in darkness and duality for so long? That was a question to the beings. Pleiadian Collective. In the grand scheme, it's but a blink of the eye. There are many levels and layers regarding this. There have been humans who have been in other star systems. There are other species that are not humanoid. Here we go with the alien UFO thing. Antarctica. David Wilcock, Corey Good. The stuff that got me into this channeling. There are other species that are not humanoid that they have incarnated with. One of the universal laws is that you're holographic in nature, and that translates to as above, so below. And if you go look at the pictures on Yahoo image site, for example, of the devil, he does as above, as below. The death card, the terror card, look at the picture of the devil. George Washington, his monument in Washington, D.C., he's sitting there in a chair, as above, so below. This is one of the key words in the New Age material. Connecting the dots, you think? So if you think of the United States as a melting pot, all the strife that you go through as a country with your prejudices, where do we get our prejudices? From the media? From the lies? From the deception? That's happening out in the galaxy. It's not all light and airy. There's a lot of conflict out there as well. And it's just part of the game. So again, they keep talking about a game. So all this insanity on planet Earth, it's happening in the galaxy also, and it's part of a game. Question. Is this the only game to play? The light and dark game? With conflict and war? Or is there another game we'll find more appealing as we progress? That's a good question. Answer. There are a lot of different versions of the game. It depends on the things you want to focus on. Perhaps it is learning how to reconstruct material, restructure material, so that you can create a star or a planet. There are beings that go to work on that. But even within that, you've got systems of duality that are basic rules to the universe and how it works. So in this universe, page 56, it's duality. In other universes, it can be singularity. Or you can have multiples. You have trinary systems. It gets very difficult for us to explain it because you're all wanting to process it through your brain. And you're so immersed in duality that it just seems completely foreign. Question. You're a collective of 2,500 beings. How do you all agree on something? Answer. We don't always agree 100%. But what we are capable of doing is to understand and connect with another, to really grasp their viewpoint and to see where their perspective is coming from. So it's about being empathetic, in a sense. We don't always agree, but the majority does rule. And you've got a lot of beings who are coming in. You'll hear a lot about the councils and federations, like Galactic Federation and other stuff that some of these people are telling us. It is a step towards a collective consciousness. So is there some kind of mind control going on, part of this globalization, collective consciousness? See the keywords? New World Order. Who gets to rule in globalism? Will it be like Professor Higger said in the Jewish Utopia? Are they really God's chosen people and the rest of us are goy and goyim cattle, as they say? Or the people, the Freemasons and other people in these secret societies, they call us profane. What's the truth? It is a step towards a collective consciousness, but it is still working with physicality. We're at a higher level, as it were. Many of us have been through the physical process and where we are energetically able to connect. You're always connected to the collective because you're always connected to Source, and Source is the entire collective. Remember the Borg, Star Trek? They wanted to assimilate everybody, hook them up to a machine. Look what they're doing now, giving people even credit cards. You got to stick inside a machine instead of swiping it. They're slowly progressing. Pretty soon it'll be that mark on your forehead maybe, or your hand, as prophesied. Is channeled material part of the deception? Is that a fair question? Is that an important question? Should we destroy Christianity? Should we believe that Jesus was a myth? Should we believe that Islamic people are all evil and the murdering to continue and destroying their cities and towns and then sending them to Europe and the United States and the rest of the world? If they're not good enough to live over there, why are they sending them here? Why do they have maps for Greater Israel? Why has Zionism been going on for a couple hundred years? Communism. Why did they have congressional hearings in 1910, 1920 about something called the Jewish problem, about communism? Who's who? Who's the good guys? Who's the bad guys? Question. How would you say humanity is doing generally with the ascension process? Very well. It's not easy, but we understand that. For the most part, you've done better than most of us had expected. Wow. Your 911 created a whole new level. That's what it says here on page 56. Your 911 created a whole new level. I read this stuff sentence by sentence, taking my time. So now we know why they had 911. We knew about it. It has something to do with the Middle East. The monuments, the pyramids, the Sphinx, Sumerian tablets, Zechariah Stitchins, the Anunnaki, Planet X, Planet Nibiru, a new age, the age of Aquarius. Something going on. We do this step by step, sentence by sentence, book by book, video by video. You can't help but get it if you just go slow. There was the potential for that event to create a lot of anger, a lot of distrust. Well, the information we get from the government is total fabrication and lies. I've made videos on those books. A lot of retaliation and a lot of lower response. But many of you responded instead with compassion. And that altered your timeline dramatically. Well, they're still murdering people in Syria today and Iraq and all over the Middle East. It's not stopped there. But they got stuff going on over here in the U.S. and I'm sure in Europe that keeps most of the citizens preoccupied and distracted and even beguiled. Downtown parties, opening up new breweries, drugs, food stamps, all kinds of welfare, arguing about health care. What's really going on? Question. And yet our leaders still took us to war. Answer. Yes, well, there's a whole other game being played there. Answer. Yes, well, there's a whole other game being played there. You think? There are other beings who are manipulating and controlling events on the planet. And they talk about Planet Nibiru, they talk about the Anunnaki, they talk about the reptilians. Connect them with the Illuminati, secret societies, communism, Zionism, etc., etc. South Antarctica, the South Pole, David Wilcock, Corey Goode, Stephen Greer, Serious Disclosure. What is the truth? They have a vested interest in it as well. Other beings. And it says right here, I'm not making this up, I'm going to show you. And we're talking about the Anunnaki. Right next to my finger. And we're talking about the Anunnaki. Channeled material. So you think all this is part of the Freemasonry and Satanism series I'm going over? Trying to find out who is behind all this activity on planet Earth. It seems like the Twilight Zone. 9/11, World War I, World War II, so many other wars, assassinations, Jade Helm 15, terror events, false flags. We're talking about the Anunnaki. That's what it says here. While they are not human, in a sense, they have incarnated to Earth. They are humanoid. They are not reptilians. And now they're even mentioning reptilian beings in this channeled material by Wendy Kennedy, channeling with the Pleiadian Collective. Many of the reptilians that you hear about, those are Pleiadians. Wow, right in this book. I put a star here so I don't forget it. So are the reptilians the Pleiadians? It says it here. And the Pleiadian Collective are communicating with Wendy Kennedy. I wonder who they were. Many of the reptilians that you hear about, those are Pleiadians. They are reptilians from other star systems. There are reptilians from other star systems as well, but they are on the front men. But they are the front men, the Pleiadians, who are reptilians. They are being protected to generate fear. Because you have been cocooned and isolated. Talking about we humans on Earth. I know we've been deceived and history's been rewritten. We've been lied to and cheated. When the Rothschilds and the other Illuminati people, who are supposed to be reptilian, by the way. So that would be Pleiadians. Wow. But anyways, in cahoots with Woodrow Wilson, they created the Federal Reserve in 1913, which enabled them to take over America's money supply. And they did this to other countries all over the world. So if the Rothschilds, Illuminati are reptilian, there's evidence to support that. I put that in my other videos. And the Pleiadians are the ones we're talking about who are in communicating with these channelers. And the Rothschilds are the ones that financed Israel. So we can say that the Israel Zionists are being supported by the reptilians. If I'm connecting the dots here correctly. Oh my! There are reptilians from other star systems as well, but they are the front men. They are being projected to generate fear. So we've heard about shape-shifting reptilians. Because you have been cocooned, isolated, your history has been rewritten so that you don't remember who and what you truly are. so that you can be utilized, so we can be utilized. Somebody's using us. Well, they're using the United States since 9/11 to bomb and kill and maim and deport all the people from the Middle East. So the United States is the long arm for the reptilians, who are the Pleiadians, and those are the ones who helped create the State of Israel, who are into the Kabbalah and mysticism, even using the Merkabah to communicate with other dimensions, and CERN, which is in Geneva, on the Swiss-French border, which is the long homeland, long-time headquarters for the Illuminati, also the origin of the Frankenstein myth, etc. If you're being presented with this notion that someone is not human, that's frightening to you because you think you are all that exists. It's interesting to listen to this channeled material by some invisible entity. Are they telling us the truth? Should we pay attention? Are the Illuminati reptilians? These are the people, the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, the banksters, who took over the U.S. money supply in 1913 in cahoots with President Woodrow Wilson, and 6 months later they were able to start World War I in June. You think that was a coincidence? They couldn't have done it if they didn't have the USA and taken over our banking system. And then they had a Balfour Agreement when Britain was losing the war. And of course, all those family shields, emblems all over Europe and Britain have dragons in them. Those are reptilians. We got gargoyles and reptilian beings, symbols all over the United States, pyramids, and even downtown Washington, D.C. is shaped like a gigantic owl, and Freemasonic symbols. Question: how do the Anunnaki control the leaders? We know they control the American leaders because they control the money supply. They control the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. So that would be the Illuminati, the Zionists, the Communists, and the New World Order. And apparently now we can add the Pleiadians. According to this channeled entity, if I'm to believe what he's saying here, through Wendy Kennedy, if it's a he, it's a Pleiadian 2,500 collection of entities, collective. Part of it is through genetic lines. So that's how they control our leaders. And we all know about Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier. I've made many videos on this topic. This is series 133. I've got 500 hours of video material on YouTube. Read hundreds of books, hundreds of magazines, watched thousands of videos, tens of thousands, if not 100,000 press releases, printed out, reviewed, commented on, cataloged in dozens of boxes. Bookcases in my home and in storage. Part of it is through genetic lines. Fritz Springmeier, Bloodlines of the Illuminati, and so many other books I've gone over. That's because there is a genetic memory of being connected and being controlled and being manipulated. Listen to the words here coming from a channeled entity, a Pleiadian, or 2,500 Pleiadians speaking as one. Not everyone is being controlled, per se, but they are so deeply entrenched in this game. Consumption and power, that is the track they are on. Consumption and power entrenched in this game. So they may not know that they are being played, as it were. We're talking about the politicians. And they live in nice mansions and have expensive toys and kids going to the best colleges, Harvard and Yale. They need that money. So they can't be free thinkers. They have to listen to the puppet masters, who are the Illuminati, the banksters, the Zionists, the Communists, who apparently are the Pleiadians and the Reptilians. No wonder we've got so much satanic rituals and Luciferic rituals going on. But there are beings that are connected with these extraterrestrials. So now it's saying extraterrestrials here by this channeled material. If you will, who know the true history. So who's here to help us? And who's here to deceive us? And they are assisting, but they are not the ones who are out at the front. So you think this planet Nibiru incoming to planet Earth about to cause a pole shift? You think it's a huge deception? Do they have the technologies to fake a pole shift? An apocalyptic event. Explode a nuclear bomb and say it was a comet. Or something. A blast from the sun. What will they do and when will they do it? And how will the people on planet Earth respond? Are the Anunnaki on their way out on Earth? So if you talk to David Wilcock and other people, they're saying that these secret cabals, societies, entities are losing the battle. I think it's a deception. Answer, there are multiple versions of Earth. Multiple versions of Earth that are going to be separate. That are going to begin to separate. Let me read it again. There are multiple versions of Earth that are going to begin to separate. So I was talking about, they're talking about planet Earth, say this hand's planet Earth, and this other more spiritual Earth planet, Nibiru, Destroyer, whatever. But anyways, we're supposed to be ascending planet Earth. And the two planets are supposed to somehow merge and become one planet and ascend to a higher dimension other than the third dimension, according to some of the stuff I've been researching and trying to understand. Apparently, there are a lot of us, Christians for example, and other good people, who are going to resist pansexualism and transgenderism and the rest of the New Age philosophy and teaching. Not just trying to bash these people or these people. It's this paradigm shift. But some of us are going to refuse this ascension. And apparently, in the last video I just made, the beings said those people are going to hit that other planet like a brick wall. To be killed physically, and their spirits will go someplace where they belong. Not where everybody else is going. There's different ways to interpret the prophecy and what's said in the Bible. Another way to interpret it, to understand it, is that when the event happens that causes worldwide martial law or World War III, nuclear holocaust, blame it on sun flares, blame it on global warming, over-flooding, economic collapse, pole shift, earthquakes. Some people are in the, whenever it all gets resolved, some people are going to have to swear allegiance to some kind of god. Lucifer, whatever they decide to call him. And apparently he's supposed to be Jewish. In books I've read, that's not me. But those people who do not go along are supposed to be beheaded, and the preferred choice is by guillotine. It's just troublesome to think about this, but go look up on the internet and see if they you can find on YouTube and other alternate websites where eyewitnesses have said that the government has purchased 30,000 guillotines. Seems to be all kinds of preparations for the Christian version of the apocalypse. The ascension is another version. It's all talking about the same thing. Is there really some sun nemesis coming towards Earth right now that's by Jupiter, carrying with it some planets like Nibiru, and when they pass by our sun, their sun, will there be a pole shift and everything will be spilling and earthquaking all over the planet? There's plenty of material on YouTube to say that's what's happening. Are the Anunnaki on their way out on Earth? There are multiple versions of Earth that are going to begin to separate. They're all existing right now, one on top of another, and they're all different bands of frequency. As you get closer to 2012, those bands and frequencies are going to become more distinct, and where you're vibrating all is going to determine what version you're standing on. So, crazy thought and question comes to my mind. If Earth was multiple versions of Earth all in one, and if in 2012 they said it'll separate into 2 Earths or more Earths, and we heard about the Mandela effect, has something happened? Did I wind up on one particular new Earth and some people on something else? Was there some kind of quantum physics event that happened? Curious questions. What's going to happen? Looks like something's looming in our future. All right, moving on. Page 58. Hope you're finding this conversation, if nothing else, fascinating. True or false? That's, I guess, for individuals to decide. All I know is you can purchase the book and read this stuff. And I've been reading from other channeled material. Mediums, psychics, channelers, from several different beings who call themselves several different names. What is the truth? A lot of people are following this stuff, making believers out of people, changing how they think, saying that Christianity and Jesus is the old ways. They don't work anymore for this new Earth. Using my hand as a symbol for Earth. Apparently the Earth's separated, according to what I'm reading here. That's why you have those who will go into the 4th dimension and those who will go into the 3rd dimension version as far as they can. See what I'm saying? There was supposed to be this ascension. Has there already been an ascension, or is there a looming ascension? As people are saying on videos and websites and books being published, and apparently activities, actions taken by the governments. It's really about ranges of frequency, and when you're talking about the Anunnaki, you're talking about which band they are standing in. But we will tell you that it is very important that the Anunnaki go through this ascension process with you. That would be the reptilians, who are apparently the ones who sponsored and made backdoor deals to help create the State of Israel. The ones behind 9/11 who are causing all the destruction and murder in the Middle East. Remember, all those ancient monuments, a lot of them are in the Middle East. Is there something coming that was here before? Because they are playing the role of the dark. So I guess we got to have the dark with the light. So this game on Earth that we're all living through, these reptilian dark energies, it says here, are needed to play their part so the game can be played. You need someone to play that role, and they have done it, donned it, just put it on. And they have been in the dark for so long. All right, this little block here, this little square, says, I'll read it, there are multiple versions of Earth that are going to begin to separate, all existing right now, one on top of another, and they're all different bands of frequencies. Think about it this way. Think of how you would feel if you had never felt love, or that you felt love, but it was so long ago you really can't remember it. That's rather tragic. And that's where they're at, these reptilians, these Pleiadians. Maybe these Zionist communists Jewish people, not all Jewish people. And a lot of other people that are Christian and other religions, mercenaries who have joined these people, getting paid big bucks, like our politicians and other leaders, to make a lot of money, have a lot of power, be able to do perverted things to children and people, torture people. Seem like they get their kicks off of that. Some sick people out there. Pizzagate. Bohemian Grove. So rather than fear them or fear anger with them, our goal is not to install fear. It is to understand their place. So we're supposed to understand these dark energies, Pleiadians, reptilians, Illuminati, Zionists, communists, banksters, etc., etc., etc. Thousands of organized secret societies. And I would venture to guess that most of the people belonging to a lot of these secret societies, like the Freemasons, Rosicrucian, and the lower levels, are innocent enough. They've been deceived and beguiled and think they're going to learn some secret knowledge. Look how many people don't know about this stuff I'm reading right now. But you can go buy the book or all these other books I've been going over on channeled material. A lot of people won't even read the Bible. Don't want to believe in that anymore. But they believe in this stuff. And it's finding this place of compassion like a child. They too need to be brought back into love and know what love is. And that's part of why they are involved with this ascension process. Again, I've been going over the Corey Good, David Wilcock, and so many other books I have on this stuff. That's what got me into the channeled material. I mean, I knew it was there, but I never took it so serious. I'd read Edgar Cayce material and knew about some channeled material. And the raw material I've been going over. We'll be going over lots of this stuff again and again and again, as long as I have the ability to do so. Alright, why should we love these reptilians and be happy they're involved with the ascension process? Because they too are coming to the end of a cycle. So an end of a cycle is coming. They have donned this role, this heavy role, and they too need to clear that energy. So we're supposed to be sorry, feel sorry for the people who brought us 911 and the continuous murder in the Middle East since then, and all the other activities towards the New Age and the New World Order. I don't think so. That's my opinion. I don't hate anybody. I pray for all entities, whatever they are, to find the right path. And I think in the end, people are going to get what they deserve. But they would have you believe differently with the New Age material. There's no such thing as sin. It's just a different polarity. It's just a different experience. Are they consciously aware of this? These reptilians, the Illuminati, Zionists, Talmudic people, Bolshevik Jewish people who invaded Russia, killed millions of people? Are they consciously aware of this? Answer, not at all. They are so trapped in lower frequencies. This is why they are using the planet and its natural resources and why they generate so much fear. You have the capability to tap into the frequency of love. You have the ability to open up your energetic field to source energy. They, however, are so immersed in fear and anger and retribution and power and control that they can't access that feeling of love. And I've been going over the Encyclopedia Judaica 1972 version, and I see clearly, I made many hours of videos that are published, that between the Zionists and anti-Semitism and the Kabbalah and so much more in the Encyclopedia Judaica, their encyclopedia, that they have been seething with hatred and desire to reclaim the Middle East, to have their kingdoms again. And there are plans for a bigger country than just that little bit of land called Palestine, now called Israel, most of it. There's maps on Israel Zionist site, I've showed them in my videos, of greater Israel, all the way from the Euphrates in Iraq down to the Nile and down into Saudi Arabia and encompassing most of Syria. And according to Professor Higger's Jewish Utopia, Protocols of Zion, and many other books, they plan on being the aristocrats and taking over the planet. So will that be, when the two earths separate, if there is an ascension process, will they get their earth? And will the rest of us wind up someplace else, hopefully safe from them? I do have my own feelings on these issues. I am completely opposed to all these terror events, trying to disarm the American people, all this fear-mongering with biodiversity and sustainability, global warming, global freezing, climate change, Nibiru, pole shifting. We're obviously not getting the truth. There's so much fear-mongering going on. Obvious stuff on TV programming and movies, Divergent, Hunger Games, Lucifer program, Modern Family. There's no shortage of evidence. So what is all this? So what they do is amass all this lower frequency energy, and it allows them to open up dimensional portals. You can't make this stuff up. We're talking about the archway of Baal. A portal, an archway. What's an archway? It's a doorway. What's a doorway? A doorway is a portal. They wanted to put it up in New York. They did. And one in London. And what later on I found out from UNESCO, out of the United Nations, they're putting up 1,000 of these all over the world. And then CERN, the stuff they've seen in the portals they're opening. Shiva, the goddess of destruction, out front. The celebration ritual, the ceremony they had. Quite bizarre. So it says here, open up a dimensional portal. The satanic rituals they're having all over the world that they televised to all of us. The Eurovision contest 2014. Conchita Wurst. Wurst is a sausage, a male unit. Conchita's a female unit. The one who won the contest, Conchita Wurst, believe it or not, that was his, her name. And it's a his, her creature that's the devil. It's androgynous. Not male, not female, but both. He was dressed like Jesus in the head and a woman in a silky dress on the bottom. 2014 Eurovision, go look it up. You won't believe it. And like I said, he sings the song, The Phoenix Rising, which has the words, you can't stop us. You can't make this stuff up. Question, and their power essentially comes from us giving it to them. The answer, yes. That's why they create this game, to keep you in fear. That's one level of it. Now, there's a lot of information in here. Maybe these Pleiadians are trying to get the truth out to us. Again, I'm not trying to bash channeled material. I'm for psychic research. I'm for holistic healing. I'm for using dowsing rods or pendulum to find underground water. You call up the well driller when you're building a new house, and he says, where you want me to drill the hole? It costs $5,000. And you go, I don't know. You're a well driller. And if he's a good well driller, he'll say, well, maybe you should call up a dowser, and he'll walk across your property, and he'll map out any underground streams, and I'll know where to drill the hole. So I only have to drill once and charge you $5,000. But if you don't, or if the well driller's not a really nice guy and wants to make more money, he won't mention it. And then you'll drill a hole, and he might not find water. How would you like to gamble on that? But when he's done, he's going to say $5 grand. And he's going to go, where do you want the next hole? Because that'll be 5 more grand. And the next hole, 5 more grand. So yeah, why not use a dowser? And during the 1300s, 1400s, 1500s in Europe and Germany, all over, they used dowsers in China to find tin and copper and metals under the ground. Ley lines, dangerous, invisible lines above the earth that if you build your house in one and sleep in one, it can cause tumors and cancers. So yeah, I'm interested in advanced psychic energies and advancements. I believe we as humanity, we will evolve. We are evolving. But I think one of those things that we need to evolve about is to use our brains and think and use them. So we can check out this material. Stop being deceived. Demand that the evil forces be kicked out of those places controlling our world. When the Illuminati apparently are the reptilians, and they apparently are the Pleiadians, and apparently they took over the USA money supply in 1913 in cahoots with Woodrow Wilson, creating a Federal Reserve, which is not federal. They've crashed the system 8 times. So just like this material says here, they are using us like farm animals. They let us prosper for a while, then they crash the system and they take it all. Depressions, recessions, bubbles, savings and loan scandals, 2008, over and over and over they've done it. And we lose, and they rake in millions and trillions, and they keep on playing their nasty game. And maybe most of us who are apathetic, they don't care, leave me alone, gotta go watch TV. You know, maybe some of the people on planet Earth don't deserve to evolve and be some kind of being in the future that's advanced. Maybe they're just too dumb. I really don't believe that. I believe they can wake up. They don't need to go get tattoos of demons on their arms and join these cults and believe that Christianity and decency, those people are all haters. It can't be that bad. So what if it is? I guess when the planets separate during this ascension process, those people will go for the ride on this planet. And the people who don't want to join that kind of reality will go off for rides elsewhere. Is that how it's going to be? This material is correct. It seems likely. And I hope I'm going off onto the good planet with family values. The other people can go off on their planet of endless wars and murder and theft and perversion. I get emotional when I think about this. We're in this predicament because people are not using their brains. I'm not preaching Islam religion or the Christian religion or the Buddhist religion or the Hindu religion. I'm preaching people wake up. We don't need this nonsense and them stealing from us and corrupting and destroying our families and our children. How many people in the United States are sitting in prisons right now that shouldn't be there? How many young people are sensing a hopelessness because they don't feel they'll ever be able to get out of the hole? How is this New Age and New World Order closing in on us, bringing us closer to the Hunger Games movie reality? If that doesn't get anybody's emotions up, I don't know what would. Yes, that's why they create this game, to keep you in fear. There's one level of it. They're feeding off the fear. Their other game is keeping you from remembering who and what you truly are, so you don't take your toys and go play in another sandbox. So the only reason these few entities control our planet is because we let them. These politicians who lie to us. organizations like corporations that control us. Who's the CEO of most of these corporations? You think those CEOs are largely all Christians, or are they Jewish? Tex Mars said they were all Jewish in a newsletter he sent me back in 2012. This is not the one, but I got one like this in the mail one day. And I said, Tex Mars, you're crazy. Those Jewish, this is before I knew what I know now. I said, they don't have that kind of power to control everything. But I did go get a notebook, looked up top 200 corporations or whatever on the internet, looking for the CEOs, looking them up on the Wikipedia, scrolling down towards the bottom. Whoa, most of them, if not all of them, were Jewish. Right now, there's jokes about Hollywood, the comedian circuit and all that. It's over-dominated with Jewish people. So I've been seeing in websites and online essays and press releases by people. And I got books, the Jewish Hollywood, the empire of their own. And I've read other essays on the internet where they control the higher educational institutions, colleges, universities. And apparently there's some bickering inside, but these Jewish elites who control those things seethe and hate the non-Jew people. And I'm sure all those non-Jewish people, including me, don't hate the Jewish people. But why would they hate us and not all Jewish people? A lot of the information I have learned are God-fearing, God-believing Jewish people who have been trying to warn the rest of us. So not all Jewish people are in this Pleiadian, reptilian, Illuminati, Zionist, communist camp. Freemasonry, secret societies, Rosicrucian, Bohemian Grove, Bilderberger Group, Club of Rome, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, witchcraft organizations, Kabbalah. I could go on with 1,000 names for these different organizations all over the world. They're taking over all kinds of institutions. They had communist hearings in 1910, 1920s, before and after World War I. And they had hearings back then, you could find out in Henry Ford's book, The Automaker, on the Jewish problem back then. And in the Encyclopedia Judaica, all during the 1800s, they had those same issues, taking over the German banking system during the 1800s, like they did in America during the 1900s. So who are these people? Where are we going on planet Earth? Why is this stuff in this channeled material? Question. But in spite of that, we are remembering. The answer. Yes. And they are very nervous because this is all they know. So it says right here, the question to the Pleiadian Collective, 2,500. So maybe in the Pleiadian circuit, just like the Jewish peoples, maybe there are some good Pleiadians out there, good reptilians, trying to have a positive spin on this conversation. And maybe there are some evil ones. So yes, and they are very nervous. So these Zionist, Jewish, bankster, Illuminati, reptilian, Pleiadian entities, whoever, are very nervous because we might be waking up. So will that force them to play the nuclear holocaust or some event to get martial law all over the world, bring about this new age, this new world order, this new paradigm? This beginning of persecution of anybody that's a Christian or won't swear allegiance to these demonic beings, Lucifer, Satan, or whatever name they give it. Remember, this series is Freemasonry and Satanism, and I'm just connecting the dots. The words are here. In this particular journalist's book, interviewing 6 different channelers, I'm only gone over one chapter, chapter 2. Wait till I read more on this stuff. So they are making an effort to prevent things from changing. We're not saying this is all Anunnaki. That would be lumping all earthlings together. So we can't say it's all Jewish people. It'd be like lumping all Jewish people together. We can't say it's all the Christians are good, because a lot of them have been turned traitor and are working against us. They call themselves Christians in name only. Even in the Encyclopedia Judaica, it said a lot of the Jewish people historically, years ago, were instructed and changed their names to Christian names and other people to hide their identities. So we get families, dynasties like the Bush family and so many others, like Fritz Springmeier said in Bloodlines of the Illuminati, that these families are continuous in politics for the last couple hundred years. So I guess there are kings and queens and princesses and dukes and barons running our world, but they hide that and call themselves senators, representatives, and presidents and billionaires and all this, and they're playing us for fools. So we're not saying this is all Anunnaki. That would be like lumping all earthlings together and how they feel about things. In this one particular group that has decided that they are resisting change. Question: are we influenced by them when we feel greed or negative energy? Is that our doing? The answer: both. You're willing participants. Like I said, a lot of good people, non-Jewish people, and not all Jewish people are bad people, Zionists and communists. But a lot of people that are not part of that are willing participants, it says here on page 59. By this channeled 2,500 Pleiadian entities through Wendy Kennedy in this book that I purchased. What am I to believe? They started that game going, so you're playing their game. But you can unplug from that and you can create your own version of that game. Question: do you have a particular advice for how people can raise their frequency and make all this more graceful and easy? The answer: we always like that question. What am I here to do? What is my job? Well, I'll tell you, it's just to live life. As you're wanting to clear and ascend, it's really just dealing with your life and taking a look at what you are creating and what is in front of you. As we've said before, this physical reality is reflecting absolutely everything that you need to know. So you are paying attention, or your eyes are closed. Working on yourself is the greatest gift that you can give to humanity. So I'll stop reading there. And I appreciate people listening to my videos and leaving comments politely, whether you agree or disagree. And I'm glad I found my path to this channeled material. It's very enlightening. Little pun on being illuminated. Leave a comment. I like a thumbs up. Rick Miracle reporting.